Hi there. I'm your GMAT Quantum Data Insights mentor, Devamitra, and here I'm with our AI platform, Prepathon.ai from Crackberwick. Prepathon.ai is an AI-powered platform that helps you learn with the help of questions, and it can help you practice consistently and analyze consistently with the AI support 24 by 7. So I'm going to pick up a topic which is slightly more technical, like inequalities. Inequalities on the GMAT is not as common in terms of real-time experiences as you talk about percentages or profit loss or time speed, where a real-world context can be very quickly applied. When it comes to inequalities, a little bit of knowledge basket, some amount of knowledge is necessary in order to build up on the approaches. So I'm going to just take you through 4 questions. I'm going to explain number one, what are inequalities? Number two, we will learn on how inequalities behave when you add or subtract values and what happens when you multiply or divide values. We are just going to understand these building blocks. Cut that line. Begin. So we're going to understand these building blocks before you navigate further into exploring more about inequalities. The world of GMAT in terms of content, the knowledge basket is super finite. Less concepts, more practice and analysis. Let's try. There's a custom quiz I've created. Now, this is how your dashboard will look once you take a test. The test will appear here under your recent attempts. I just took a test some few seconds ago and I'm going to reattempt this. The first question, 3x plus 5 less than 14. This expression that you see here, 3x plus 5 less than 14, this is an inequality. What are inequalities? They are mathematical sentences which are created with less than sign like you see here, or a greater than sign, or a less than equal to, or a greater than equal to. Difference between inequality and equation, the replacement of the less than sign here with an equal to would create an equation where you would have one value, or if it's a quadratic equation, two values for the variable that has been asked. But in case of an inequality, unless there are constants given, additional constant, you would have a range of values that will satisfy that expression given. But how do I find that range of values? Let's ask the AI. Let's get a hint. Start by isolating the term with term x by subtracting 5 from both sides, then divide by 3. I've asked it to isolate it. First step, it subtracted 5 from both sides. I want to remove x and keep it separate. That's the meaning of isolation. So in GMAT questions which talk about a variable, x, y, z, and keep that on one side and everything else on the other side. You're able to analyze more with the isolated content, x or y or z, whatever it is, it stays on one side and everything else can be analyzed here. So how do I isolate? You subtract a 5. If you subtract a 5 on both sides, 3x plus 5 minus 5, plus minus gets cancelled, you're left with 3x. That's the first term you get after you subtract 5. Then 14 also you have to subtract a 5 on both sides. So 14 minus 5 fetches you a 9. So now the inequality that is simplified is 3x less than 9. Did you notice here that the sign of inequality did not actually change? Because when you add or subtract any constant in an inequality, there's no change in the sign of inequality. But let's ask that to the AI. When you add or subtract a constant from both sides of the inequality, sign does not flip. That there is no change in the sign. So if you have an inequality like this, it gives you an extra example. If you have a plus 5 less than b plus 5, you subtract 5, no change. If you add a 3 or subtract a 3, no change in the sign of inequality. So let's ask the GMAT concept being tested on this question. This is exactly what's being tested. If you add or subtract constant, no change in the sign of the inequality. If you multiply or divide by a negative value, then the sign flips. If I multiply and divide by a positive value, no change in sign. So, but let me just verify it with AI. Remains the same. You multiply or divide by a positive value, the overall inequality does not flip in sign. So if I did divide like I did here, 3x less than 9, x less than 3, this was our simplified version, x less than 3. And so answer choice A is what I'm going to go for and move to the next question. How many integers satisfy both? Critical word here, both. 2 less than z less than equal to 4. How many integers? The question also gives us an integer constant, and such constants very helpful on the GMAT. They help us eliminate answer choices also. Let's ask AI how many integers are represented by the first inequality, okay? It tells us there are two integer values. Basically, on the number line, 2 is not included, the next number is 3 as an integer, and the next number is 4, which is included with the less than equal to sign. So the difference between less than and less than equal to can be asked now. But let's ask it to elaborate it. So less than does not include the boundary values, whereas less than equal to includes the boundary value, right? That's important for us to understand. So in this case, z lies between 2, 4, 4 included, 2 not included. So the integers we're looking for are 3 and 4. Let's validate. Yes, we are right. What about z lying between 0 and 3, both included? Now that you understand, for 0, z and 3, 0, 1, 2, and 3, all of them are included. Let's validate it. 0, 1, 2, 3. Now, if you had to combine both the ranges, one that says 3 and 4, and the other that says 0, 1, 2, and 3, which one of them is common? Because the value of z should satisfy both the inequalities. The only common value is 3. There is no 4 here, and there is no other value like 0, 1, 2 satisfying the previous inequality. So I'm going to answer 1 for them. Let's ask what is the GMAT skill being tested on this question? Interpreting inequalities, certainly. And attention to details, of course. That's one key requirement for any GMAT question. You have to be super attentive to critical words like integers, both in this question. That's how you would get it right. Otherwise, you could fall for trap answers. Like 2 could be a trap answer, 4 even could be a trap answer. And sometimes if you're not thinking well and you're rushing through, you might see that 3 is the only common value, and you go and mark 3 without realizing they're asking you how many, not which value. Let's go. Next question. If x is not equal to 0, which of the following is always positive? What does that mean? It can be both positive, both negative, on both sides of 0. X could be anywhere. So definitely I can eliminate answer choice A, and I could also eliminate X, answer choice B. Because if X is negative, then 2X will be negative. If X is negative, X will be negative. Both A, B can be eliminated, but let's look at a hint. Squaring a number, think about how the sign X affects each option. X's sign does affect and help us eliminate some of the choices. What about answer choice C? Let's ask AI. Negative x. Will negative x always be positive? Let's ask. Depends on the sign of x. So if you have a positive sign, if x is 5, negative x will be negative 5. So it's not always positive. But if x is negative, then only in that case, you would find negative x turning positive. If x is, for example, negative 5, then minus x will be minus of minus 5, which is plus 5. So I can rule out answer choice C as well, because it's not positive. If x is, say, 5 or 6 or 7, any positive value to the right of 0, minus x will definitely not be positive. But what about x squared? X squared, because it's not equal to 0, 0 is neither positive nor negative. Any other value, you take 1, 2, 3, or 1.5, 2.5, 2.99. If you square it, the result will be positive. If you take a negative value, minus 1, minus 2, or minus 1.333, non any integer which is negative, or a non-integer which is negative, if you square it, it will always be positive. So that's my pick. And how about x plus 2? Let's ask AI. Well, we can have a negative 3 plus 2, and we could have a negative 1. So if we have a very large negative value and you add a 2 to it, you won't get a positive output. We can eliminate that and find out x squared to be always positive. But let's be a little more attentive here, that if the condition x is not equal to 0 was not given to us, and x could be equal to 0 here, then x squared could also be equal to 0. And 0 is neither positive nor negative. So in that case, the answer choice D could be also eliminated. They would have to keep another answer choice, which would be the correct answer here. You learn from the questions, you learn from analysis. All right, y plus 4 greater than 3, y minus 2 less than 8. Let's ask for a hint. Isolate y in both inequalities. How? It says that isolate y. Now, we already learned how to isolate in the first example. Say y is greater than negative 1. If I add a minus 4 on both sides, I'm going to have y greater than negative 1. if I have y minus 2 less than 8, add a plus 2 on both sides, and you would have y less than 10 because you added 2 to both sides of the inequality. So now if you combine them, you have a y value greater than negative 1, but less than 10. The combined value, the range is minus 1, less than y, less than 10, and that's your answer. But I want to ask AI, how does inequality sign get affected by multiplying and dividing with a negative value? To give it an example, to give an example around that. Minus 6 less than minus 3. If I divide by negative 3, I have 2 on one side and I have a 1 on the other side. You have a 2 greater than 1, which is always true. I want to complete the quiz. Let's see what was my, all of them are right. No surprise because we have been using hints. I got some experience. Good for me. If I want to understand more for this question, they will give you the solution and you can keep on asking more questions to understand the concepts better, how each of the answer choices are incorrect, how I could eliminate the choices. That kind of analysis will help you to even eliminate answer choices. Because, for example, x is equal to 3 is incorrect because my value should be less than 3, not exactly equal to. I'm talking about inequalities, not equations. I'm hoping that with this quiz, you have an idea of how to analyze, but this is when you're trying to develop fundamentals. As you start developing fundamentals, move to the medium level, move to the harder level, move to mixed bag questions, and try attempting more, try asking the AI more questions, ask it to give similar questions maybe, and see what we can do with more and more understanding of the area of the topic that's tested, and specifically what GMAT skills are being tested with such questions. Okay, till then, see you on the next video.